We're going to be talking about storytelling as far as how we can convey success stories, how we can let people know what we're doing in a very impactful way. So hopefully this is something that can benefit all of us. It's something that I continue to work on constantly. So hopefully it will be a good session. Okay, there we go. All right. So as always, we'll start with introductions in just a moment. Then we'll talk about stories that move, question and answer, announcements, and then figure out what we'd like to explore for the month of May. So that's what we have going on this morning. And since we're talking about storytelling, for our introductions, I thought it would be interesting for each of us, and you can give your first name, where you work for, and or who you work for, and a story you distinctly remember from childhood. And I thought, it doesn't have to be your favorite, but one that really stuck with you, a story. So be thinking about that. And I'm going to share the one that I thought of, a book called Claude the Dog. And I don't know if has anyone heard or seen Claude the Dog? It was not a big seller. Okay. I got that in first grade during one of the scholastic book fairs. And you know how we'd all get so excited when it was book fair day and you could go to the library and pick out books. And it was so, for me, it was just, oh, it was fantastic. And Claude the Dog was a story about a dog who had a good life. Claude, he had a family who loved him. And he had blankets, he had a doghouse, he had it all going on. And another dog approached him and was like, "Man, it's Christmas. I am freezing. I don't have a blanket." So Claude was like, "Hey, take my blanket. I've got a lot." And it goes on, and Claude winds up giving this dog all of his stuff because he feels so bad for this dog. And, at the end, it's like, Claude didn't get any Christmas presents because he gave everything away. But the moral of the story was he had a family who loved him. And that story, I just loved it. I don't know why. Something about it really drew me in. When I was in high school, I got nominated to do storytelling for, it was then called FHA, Future Homemakers of America. And this was the book I picked. And so I had like felt characters and I told the story dramatically and all that. And I wound up going to the FHA state competition with Claude the dog. So Claude's been very good to me. It's just a very sweet story that really stuck out to me in childhood. So I will ask you the same question. Just your first name, and you don't have to tell us every single thing that happened, but just what's a story that really has stuck with you. Brittany, I'm going to start with you. You're at the top of my screen.
Awesome. Well, instead of being sweet, I'm going to do a tornado story since we
Oh,
had one.
goodness.
My name is Brittany. I work with Reentry and Employment Services, and I will never forget the tornado of 97 because I was at home with my stepfather at the time, and we were in the um, living room with all the windows open, just sitting on our chairs. And all of a sudden, all this debris starts coming in, and my best friend at the time runs outside to try and go to the storm shelter, but the tornado was already there, and my stepdad had to run out and grab her, and it was terrifying. My mother was at the mall at the time when all that happened, so she was getting all the hail and everything. But it was just so funny because I can just see us sitting there with debris blowing in and my best friend running out, and it was just insane. So, yeah, tornadoes are no fun. And don't run
No,
outside when they're
no, no, absolutely not. Yeah, that one was crazy, crazy intense, crazy
right.
intense. All right, next person.
I'll go.
Thank you, Shannon.
Okay, so my name
Oh,
is
my name is
Shannon.
Shannon.
Uh, do you hear an echo?
No, no, I
Okay.
don't.
All right. I work for the South Central Kentucky Workforce Development Board, and I work with a program called Putting Young Kentuckians to Work. Uh, Now, book-wise, and this is from my preschool days, I loved a book that was written by Robert Lopshire, but it was all mixed in with my Dr. Seuss books, which I really loved. Um, but this book is called Put Me in the Zoo, and it's about this made-up animal that has all these talents and abilities, and his dream is to be put in the zoo. He wants to be in the zoo. And no matter how hard he tries, he shows off all of his tricks and he just can't make it into the zoo. And one day he is out, showing off all his tricks and he runs into this brother and sister, and they conclude that. With all the things that you can do, the circus is the place for you. So the moral of the story is just that, you might really have a strong desire, but if you just, hit your head against that wall over and over again and it doesn't work out, maybe you're looking in the wrong direction and you can shine somewhere else. So don't limit yourself to a dream that doesn't seem to be coming true. Now, if we're going to talk about weather-related incidents, I mean, and the first thing that actually came to my mind was, and this isn't a very happy tale, but we had weather something like this, and we lived close to a tributary, and it flooded, and we heard screaming, and there were two brothers in the creek. They couldn't swim. They were trying to hold on to some wood. My dad took off running from our house, grabbed a tree limb as he was running, and he saved one of the brothers. He wasn't able to save the other one, but he did save the life of one of my classmates. So, I mean, it
Oh
was,
my
you know,
goodness.
yeah, it was half happy, but yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it was a nice mix. My goodness, how
But
amazing of your father to do that.
Well, the only way he did it was hanging on to weeds that were growing out of the bank because he didn't swim. He didn't swim. If those weeds had pulled loose, he'd have been gone too. But he was
Oh
able to
my
hold on to that, stretch
goodness.
the limb out. The boy grabbed it and he pulled him in. So, it
My
was really,
goodness.
it was brave of him. So I was
Well,
always really proud of him for
yes.
that.
Yes, how selfless and just, I mean, just sprung to action. Goodness gracious.
Yeah,
All right, now,
sorry I had two stories. And I wanted to say I'm so glad I didn't miss this session. I had an event that got canceled this morning, so I'm glad to be
oh,
here.
well, good. We're glad to have you. All right, somebody else. Who wants to go next?
Can I tell you how I learned how not to play with fire?
Yes, Chad. Yes, we definitely want to hear that, please.
Chad Spencer, Regional Director of Career Services with Goodwill Industries of Kentucky. So, I grew up in Simpson County apartments. My address growing up was C8 Simcoe Apartments, Building C, Apartment 8, Simpson County Apartments. And as a kid, when you saw mattresses outside, that was an invitation to turn those mattresses into a WWE wrestling ring. So I have 15 male cousins, around 5 years apart from one another. So we had a Royal Rumble on the mattresses that summer day, and we were finished and we were just laying around, and my cousin, Todd Atkins, I'm going to put his name out there, found some
Oh,
matches. And he gave the matches to me, and I proceeded to strike one and throw it on the mattresses. Well, back then, mattresses had hay in them, and it immediately jumped into flames. The fire department came, big hoopla, And once everybody left, my mom got all of us together and she said, "Okay, what happened?" Well, all fingers were pointed to me because I struck the match and I threw it on the mattress. However, I had to let my mother know that my cousin Todd is the one that found the matches. Needless to
Yeah,
say,
you needed to bring Todd in it, you know? Yeah,
can't go down
absolutely.
by myself.
Oh, no, and I'll
Needless
say
to
all
say,
this
I've
is
never played with
alleged,
matches again.
alleged. Oh my goodness, Chad. Chad, that just doesn't surprise me a lot. The wrestling doesn't surprise me. The fire doesn't surprise me. Pulling in some, I mean, that
Yeah,
that
can't
that
go
is
down by myself.
yes, that is a certified Chad Spencer story. Wonderful. Yes, that would definitely stick with you. Frank, what about you? What you got?
Okay, I was just talking to my sister, my younger sister yesterday because it was her birthday about what we used to do when we were kids. We always talk about this whenever our family meets. I have a younger sister who just turned 74, a younger sister. I have an older sister and two older brothers. When we lived in Paris, France, my dad was assigned there. We used to take these road trips, and the road trip we always talk about. This was a long time ago. I think probably before some of you were even born. I'm talking about the World's Fair in 1958. We took a road
Man,
trip with my uh, all of us five kids and my parents. We drove from Paris, France to Brussels, Belgium. And we distinctly remember, of course, there were no seat belts, there were no roadside stops. So we would just stop on the side of the road, relieve ourselves, and we would take these food breaks. You know, my mom would pull out, this out of the cooler, a Filipino dish called adobo and rice, and we would eat adobo and rice all the way between Paris, France, and Brussels, Belgium, and that is just a memory that all five of us, every time we get together, we would talk about, remember when we went to Brussels? And that's something we will never forget. Both my parents are no longer with us, but all five of us, again, when we get together, that is just a memory we always talk about, the road trip to Brussels.
yeah. And that, I mean, it sounds like it was one of those, the journey is just as important as the destination. It was a bonding experience for everybody.
That's right. And we all had our special spots. My younger sister who sat up front with my between my parents, and then all four of us in the back seat. Again, no seat belts,
Right.
just crawling all over each other and sleeping on top of each other. It was just something we always remember.
Yes. Well, that's a very sweet memory. And I was talking just the other night. Remember how cars used to have bench seats? How strange would that be now? Like we had bench seats, and I remember in high school there would be three or four people up front. How
Yep.
did I even drive? That's crazy. But yeah, bench seats. All right, very good, Frank. All right, who's next? I don't want to belabor it, but I'd like to get at least maybe one or
All
two
right.
more people.
I
And if
can
if
go.
we okay, yes, let's hear you,
Hi,
Amy.
sorry, it's been busy in here today. It's been busy all week. I don't know. People are just wanting jobs and GEDs, which is great.
Yes,
Um,
yes.
I guess I have two. I guess my first one would be my first UK shirt when I was 5. And then I went to my first UK basketball and football games. So that means a lot to me, Chad Spencer. You know that. We tailgate together sometimes. So anyway, that's my first one. When I was 5, I became a UK fan and still am. And then my second one is doing a talent show at 4th District Elementary School with me and my friends danced to New Kids on the Block in our fluorescent t-shirts and won the
What
talent
song?
show.
What song?
The right stuff. Yeah, you got the right stuff. Yeah. So those are my two fondest memories and fun memories.
Oh,
Oh, and I'm Amy from Butler County Adult Ed. Thank you.
do you remember any of your moves, Amy?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah. I remember it like it was yesterday.
All right. Well, now we know. Now we know. All right. If we don't get to you, please type your name and who you work for in the chat. Let's try to get one more. One more. Who's the last one? Who's it going to be?
I'll go.
All right. I think TJ beat the buzzer.
Good morning, everybody. TJ Shockley Hunt with Sky CTC Workforce Solutions. And I have two really quick stories that come to mind.
All right.
One is an animal story because I grew up on a horse farm between Ridge Pond and Woodburn out on Nashville Road. And we had 13 head of horses. And I was probably, I'm going to say maybe 7 or 8. And we had this one mare, she was just broke to death. Like, if you set your Coke bottle down, she would turn it up. She was spoiled to death. And so we had just moved there. It hadn't been too long, so we didn't have the front part of the property fenced yet. And my bedroom faced Nashville Road. And so I woke up one morning, half asleep, and I get up and I stretch, and I happen to look out the window, and all 13 horses were standing in the front yard loose out of the barn. And so I started screaming at my dad, and of course we shucked on clothes and took off and got them all. I don't know how in the world somebody didn't get hit on Nashville Road, but we were able to get them all back to the barn, and we were trying to figure out what was going on. And that broke to death mare, you could see her teeth marks. She went every stall. You could see where she had undone the stalls. And so it was insane. She decided she needed friends out and loose, so she let everybody out of the barn. So my dad had to go to the hardware store and put like double locks on all of the stalls.
Man,
So that was kind of a funny story that always stuck with me.
you
The
know,
other
she
one,
was a hero. She was a hero to all those other horses.
yes, she was.
They're like, dang,
That is-
jailbreaks.
Yeah, but that's just a funny story because they all, yeah, it took us a while to get them all back to the barn, but anyway, it happened. And then another one when I was in grade school, back then I believe I was in 5th grade, and I had two of my best friends. We were all in the same class. We sat in the back row. Teacher had the seats all three in a row all the way to the front, right, all the way across the classroom. She had her back to the class, and she was writing on the board, and she had a real strict non-talking policy. Well, we were all sitting there quiet doing our work, but the row in front of us, they were talking. Well, Miss Jones turned around and she thought it was us, which it was not. We were not talking at all. So she says, "You're going to write 150 sentences and turn them in tomorrow." So we all decided on break. I said, one of my friends said, Pam said, "We weren't talking and I'm not writing sentences." And then Dana says, "We weren't talking, I'm not writing sentences." So I said, "Well, if y'all aren't going to write them, I'm not going to write them." So here we go to school the next day. We get in the class, and Miss Jones says, "Dana, do you have your sentences?" And Dana gets up, walks up there, and hands her 150 sentences. And she said, "Pam, do you have yours?" Pam gets up and walks to the front, and she said, "TJ, do you have yours?" I said, "No, ma'am, I do not." They hung me out. And that was the only time I ever got spanking in school. She wore me out with that paddle. And the funny part was I wasn't even talking. So that was the only time in my whole school career I ever got in trouble. My friends hung me out. We still laugh about it to this day, that they hung me out to dry. So it's pretty funny.
Oh my goodness. They got you, TJ.
Yep, they sure did. It was funny.
Dang. Well, thank you all for sharing. Before we go to the next slide, what observations do you have just with what just happened? Do you have any observations or thoughts on what just happened with us talking?
You feel more connected to someone when you hear their stories and what's important to them and what is highlighted from their childhood.
Yes, excellent, Priscilla. Excellent. I don't know about you, but as far as from the beginning of the meeting to now, I am much more relaxed. I am more at ease. I feel like, okay, this is going to be good. This is going to be good. And I think that is extremely important. One thing that I noticed too, I was expecting lots of books. That's what, I picked Claude the dog, and I didn't say a book, but that's what I was expecting. And what happened is we got lots more personal stories, personal experiences. So when I asked you all a story you distinctly remember, that's where your mind went. Things that happened to you, things that you experienced. And I think that's extremely interesting. That was just my expectation, but we got a lot more human stories. Shannon gave a little bit of both, but there were lots of events that stuck with you for whatever reason. Some moments in childhood, you maybe like me and think, why do I remember that so vividly? But there are so many factors with memory. But stories in the end are the thing that really bring us together. Stories are our primary way of communicating. They are the way we make sense of things. And they really do have a power within them. So, what makes a great story memorable? What are some characteristics of, this is something really important. This is something, and it may not have every single element, but what things are pretty consistent with a great story?
I think sometimes when you have a story, like the one I was thinking about earlier, if you had called on me, I was thinking something that changed the way I thought about something. And I never thought about that way again.
Ooh, what do you mind to share it? Because I'm very intrigued, Adam.
Yeah, so I worked at a Wendy's since I was 15 in Eastern Kentucky, uh, pretty much all through my high school. And I had a manager named Darlene that worked with me, and she had a master's degree. And I think as a teenager, you're always thinking about your life that's ahead of you and what you're going to do and who you're going to become. And I think sometimes we look around to people around us and we're like looking at people that we're not going to become to make us continue to go forward. And I think I was in that mindset as a teenager, like many of us probably have been.
Mhm.
And one day we were working night shift, and I asked her, I said, why do you work here at a Wendy's as a manager and you have a master's degree? I just couldn't fathom that in my head. And she turned and looked at me and she said, I love working here. I love the schedule. I love you kids. I love how fast paced this is. And I like my job, and I get paid well. I get paid enough to live. And that's all I have to ask for. She was like, and I love this job. And it had never dawned on me in that moment that like people could actually like a job like that, or like a job in something that I didn't think I would like. And it changed the way I thought about jobs. And it changed the way I kind of moved through the world of what I expect and what is the flavor I might like of life, and what I want isn't necessarily going to be what everybody else wants. And I have to be able to respect their decision and what they want to do and what path they want to take and how that's going to work for them. And it's changed the way I kind of move through life, especially in workforce, that you have to find what works for someone and what they like and what's going to be there and feel that for them. And so it just changed the way I thought about things. And I think sometimes like when you have memories like that, it's the ones that like give you those aha moments, those light bulb moments where it changes the way you think about things.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Excellent, and excellent story too. I feel like the older, and I've always said this to my kids, when they were younger and talking about, oh, I want to go into this or I want to go into that. I would always say, I want you to be able to survive, as comfortably as possible. But the main thing above all is I want you to be happy. I want you to be genuinely happy with whatever it is that you do. And I think the older that I get, the more I mean that. I really sincerely mean, if you are happy and content and satisfied with this job role that you're in, and you're doing just fine, then that's great. That's golden. That's something that I think, with age, you appreciate that more and more. So yes, the having moments that change the way you perceive something, having those epiphany moments for sure. What else? What else really makes for a great story, or a story that sticks with you? And a lot of yours have stuck with you for the greatest part of your life.
Authenticity and sincerity. If someone's trying to reach you or trying to communicate with you or tell you a story, um, if they're not authentic and sincere, you sense
Mhm.
it and you kind of blow them off.
Yes. Yes. Like, it seems like there are certain professions where you get that more often than others. Usually the higher ticket sales items, you get people, hey, well, and they tell you things, and you sort of wonder, oh, are you just trying to butter me up? That kind of thing. So yes, being authentic, being sincere, having, something that's truly heartfelt, even if it's not, like making you cheer up. If there is a funny story that makes me laugh until I can't breathe, oh my gosh, those are the best. So any kind of strong emotion, if the story brings about laughter, surprise, any kind of significant emotion that leaves an impact on you, that definitely is part of a great story. So moving to the next slide, I tried to come up with, and just as backstory, um, I my bachelor's degree is in English and Allied Language Arts, so a heavy focus on creative writing, and I taught that in high school, and it's just I love it. So I tried to come up with hey, if you're wanting to communicate some of your successes, some of your success stories with your organization, with your program, what is an easy formula to do that? And it's a three-part structure. With success stories, here are the primary elements. They start with a before. And that is what was the challenge? What things were going on that presented challenges to this individual or this family or this, whatever the case may be. So you start with the before. Here's what life was like before. This person was struggling. Then there's a breakthrough. What happened to spark a change? Usually with success stories, you can sort of pin it down to, they decided they were tired. They decided they were tired of, the repeating process of say going back to jail. They had enough. They decided, I'm done. I'm making the change. And the breakthrough can be different for every single situation, but there's not going to be change. There's not going to be lasting change without some sort of spark. Whether it's a moment in the mind, I'm making a change, whether it's, like Chad setting the mattress on fire, although he had accomplices, oh, that after that happened, I realized, hey, I'm not going to play with fire. So that, it's something, and I just realized that was a literal spark. So that was pretty good. But a breakthrough and then beyond. So the three main parts to any kind of success story that you want to communicate, about your program or an individual that you have helped, that's the primary structure. And if you think of the story in that way, you can even, write on a sheet of paper or type on the computer, what's the before, what's the breakthrough, what's the beyond. So does somebody have an example that comes to mind? Maybe it's a client or customer that you're dealing with right now, or someone that you recently worked with that you could go through and say, here's the before, here's the breakthrough, here's the beyond.
I would think Brittany would have several of those.
Oh yeah, Brittany, you got something? Shannon's putting you on the spot, Brittany.
Sorry.
Thanks, Shannon. I guess it would be a good one would be Dwayne Doble in Logan County. He used to he used to moonshine for like 35 years.
Yes, we heard
And
about him. Yes. Yes,
yep,
but
and
tell me
Brittany,
because it's great.
Brittany, I believe you mean to say he's a master distiller.
yes, that's what I meant. And what's funny is I even talked to Jailer Toomey about him, and Toomey remembered arresting him because he had like 300 pounds of sugar and all kinds of stuff. And then Dwayne went and stole it back from them. So, yeah, so he had quite the past, got put in drug court and has done amazing. From the first time I met him to now, the difference in his appearance is insane. But he just graduated with his CDL and started Scotty's last week making $28 an hour. So, I mean, his life has just really completely changed and gone totally different from what he was before. And I think, getting caught and having to change his entire life from what he had done. But I think, meeting us and being able to get his CDL and see that there's a way he can do it legally, that breakthrough has really helped him really change his life.
Oh, goodness,
So
yes.
he's a big one for me.
Yes, and that is, again, you've got the before, the home distillery, and I had no idea that there was sugar in moonshine. I mean, I guess it makes sense. I'm not I'm not a connoisseur of moonshine. But wow, that's a lot. So before, the home distillery business, we'll call it, the breakthrough, the I guess multiple arrests, because if there was an arrest and then the moonshine equipment was stolen, I imagine there was a second arrest after that. So yeah, that would be something that would spark a change, for sure. And the beyond has gotten with the reentry program. You said there has been significant change. He received a CDL license and is now employed making $28 an hour. So you've got your story. You've got your story right there. And this is just an easy way of making things make sense. This is a good core to start with, and you can always go back and add more. But if you can get those three key elements, then that absolutely works. All right, let's hear one more, and let's see if it follows. Someone who has
I
a
have one.
success story. Yes, I can't see who is that.
It's Amy.
But yes, absolutely. Let's hear it, Amy.
Okay, so 2 weeks ago, a lady came to me who's homeless, and Shannon and Brittany were able to meet her at our target orientation class this past Tuesday, which was packed in Butler County. It was amazing. We didn't realize it was 2:30 and we hadn't had lunch or nothing, but
Oh,
it
wow.
was well worth it. And Shannon and Brittany, and I don't know if Roberta's on too, but they know who I'm talking about when I mention this lady. But anyway, she came off the streets of Bowling Green and connected with somebody from Butler County, and that person connected her to me. And so we sat down and we filled out 8 applications, and I'm not going to tell every story I know. I know some really detailed stories about what this lady went through. And she was tortured for 6 years by her ex-husband. I'll tell you one part. She was locked in cars sometimes by him and was not able to eat and had to use the bathroom in the vehicle for 2 to 3 days. And then the other stuff I'm just not going to mention just because it's so graphic. But she's away from him, thank the good Lord. She started her job at Country Kitchen here in Butler County yesterday, but we know Brittany's going to work on getting her something better. She's got to start somewhere. So I got her one here in Butler County. But if we can find her something better that makes more money than $8 to $9 an hour, we're going to try to do that. I know Brittany's on it. And so before she was, homeless and tortured, breakthrough, she is more independent now. She has a job. And then we'll see what happens for beyond. I actually asked her to come to church with me last Sunday, and she showed up. So she came to my church last Sunday, and she plans on coming this Sunday. And we're working on getting her some clothes and things of that nature. But she's out of that torturesome, dangerous relationship. And Shannon, Roberta, and Brittany, they know. And Nikki, if she's on here, she's a sweetheart, and we're glad to have helped her and continue to help her.
My goodness. How powerful is that? That is unbelievable. Unbelievable. Now, did she convey to you, here was a moment I decided I'm done? Did
Yeah,
she?
she actually, her husband pretty much made her steal cars for his opioid addiction. So, or he would physically and mentally abuse her. So, yes, she finally was like, he got arrested, and so now he's in recovery, and she got away from him. It's a long story. It's a weird story, but a long story. But she's done. We're just trying to, the lady that brought her to me wanted me to help teach her how to be an independent woman that doesn't have to, no offense, doesn't have to rely on anybody else, to be married. She doesn't have to have a man all the time. She can be powerful on her own if she needs to be.
Yes. Yes. So the breakthrough that sparked it sounds like it could have been his arrest, that being disconnected, that gave her the opportunity to then take further steps to gain independence. So wonderful. Yes. So you all hopefully are starting to see that, it's not extremely difficult just to get the bones of your story down. Now well, I'm sorry. Does it have to be just about the customer? Does your success story have to be solely about an individual? What other options do you have?
No, it doesn't have to be just about your customer. It can be your overall programming.
Yes.
Of your overall programming, the success of your agency, success of a department. It may not be your whole agency, it may just be a department. So
yes, and I would go, thank you, TJ. And I would go so far as to say it could also be about you. You don't want to look at yourself as, oh, I want to make this all about me. But did you all see at the beginning how we're just hanging on every word of these different stories? We all have stories to share. We all have so many unique experiences. And, it could be that just sharing one story as it relates to, to what you do, your program, your organization, that could be the thing that pulls somebody in. And when I'm talking about sharing success stories, this isn't necessarily to mean something written down, something on social media, something in a brochure. But these are so important for connecting with our customers, connecting with each other. You know, it it can truly it can truly bring people together, the sharing of stories. And you know, you can filter what, you know, what you want to share versus what you don't. But anytime you have the opportunity to integrate, here's a story that happened to me that relates to that, or even more powerful is getting your client, getting your customer to tell you their stories. Here, you know, Amy obviously had some very impactful discussions with that individual. And if we give our customers the opportunity to tell us, you know, what's going on, what have you experienced, that really can help us form connections where it really becomes impactful and meaningful.
And
So it doesn't
Leslie,
have to be
I
just
was
about
going
the,
to give a shout out. Our target orientation class, the first Tuesday of every month, when, you know, Brittany, Shannon, Nikki, Sydney, Roberta, and Brian and I all come together, you know, it's very impactful on how we work together. Like, it's just amazing on how well it's like we're a team and an assembly line or something. You know, I mean, we kind of get each other because we've been working together so much. And it's amazing to have a team like that that can help so many people. I mean, the first Tuesday of every month is my favorite day of the month. And I know the rest of the team can say that, you know, they enjoy it too, but it just makes my day and Laria's day to know that the first Tuesday of every month, we're going to help so many people. I mean, we help people every day, but it's just that teamwork makes you feel like you have a purpose. And I feel the same way
yes.
with Jake and Bianca during our job fairs. You know, it's just it's teamwork and it makes you feel like you have a purpose. And everybody on this Zoom meeting today, I think everybody's important and everybody helps people. And I think that's really what we all, you know, want to do every single day of our lives is help people. So
Yes. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And thank you for sharing that. Somebody else, any other thoughts, questions, comments about anything we've talked about thus far?
Leslie,
Yes.
I was fortunate to be able to go to the women's conference in Bowling Green at the convention center last week. And
Mhm.
one of the speakers was an author at this moment. I don't remember her name. I've got it written down somewhere. But she was funny. You know, she used a lot of humor. But at the very end of her presentation, and she was next to last in the lineup, um, she told a story and it was a happy story, but she felt so deeply about it, and she conveyed those feelings so well that when she walked off stage, I saw a lot of people in the audience like wiping tears from their eyes. So, like Rhett says, you know, you have to be authentic. And those feelings have to be sincere. And if they are, and if you can convey that, you're going to hold that, you know, whomever you're speaking to in the palm of your hand. She
Yes.
had us all just entranced.
Yes. And I hated to miss that. I had surgery 2 weeks ago yesterday. So I wasn't able to go, but I really wanted to attend that. And it seemed like it's gotten lots of favorable, you know, favorable comments online. So again, we attending things like that is important because it like gives you again a fresh perspective, by making it a story. It, you know, her concepts are much more real because you can relate on an emotional level, not just a factual kind of level. Very good, very good. Anything else before I move to the next one?
I was just going to say that there has to be alignment that we have to understand that these folks, when they come see us, they've already made a decision that they want to get better. And sometimes people do it. Your ego gets involved. Oh, I can help you. Well, it's not about us. It's not about it's
Yes.
about them. And so when you talk about helping someone, you have to be able to understand, you have to listen, you have to be very factual with someone because they know what their limitations are, but we have to help them expand those limitations, but within reason. So you have to give small goals, and so that's achievable so they can start achieving. So you have to understand a lot of these folks have not been big achievers. And so you
Yeah.
have to set those goals where they can have victories quickly so they can stack good days. So then the bigger goal becomes in sight. And you do that by giving fact, evidence, the benefit to them, paint them a word picture of what that success looks like, and then again an agreement to succeed in that. And that's very important. Alignment is so important because you can tell anybody what they want to hear until you know what they need to hear, and that's what they're after. Sometimes we can't be
Yes.
cheerleaders. We have to be mentors and be counselors and be honest with someone. If they can't do it, don't lie to them just to get something on the board to say, oh yeah, you can be a rocket scientist. I mean, you have to be very honest and set achievable goals. And I
Yes.
think that's what being authentic and being sincere with somebody is, that's why, it's best to have a good boss that's going to look you in the eye and tell you, you talk too much, shut up. I know, I hear it too. So, I mean, we have to have that with our people. And I think that's very
Yes.
important to be honest and sincere in that.
Yes, yes, excellent. And I love the idea of, small, setting them up to succeed from the very beginning and small successes. When I was a high school teacher and students would write papers or students, I also taught speech, public speaking. And I made a mental rule for myself. If I have any comment as far as, here are some things you need to work on. If I had any comment like that, I always had to have three things that I praised. Here's what you did a great job with this. This is fantastic. This is, oh wow, I love this part. Work on this. You give three goods for one, here's what you need to work on. And it's not giving them false hope or false, praise. It is finding good things and keeping that balance. So I had students in high school, who would tell me I didn't think I could write. And it's just, a way of letting them know this is a safe space where you can share your thoughts and ideas. And once you do that, once you establish that, people are much more likely, to engage with you in an impactful way.
Absolutely. And have an alternate plan of action because they may come in with a set because they've heard it their whole life, right?
Mhm.
And they have paradigms, they have all these things. So have an alternate plan. We work with veterans who want to use their benefits, right, to go to college. Well, guess what? Sometimes in their situations, they don't have any benefits. So what is the alternate plan to get this young lady or young man into school? What are those plans out there? And how can you connect them to that to see that it is feasible, that it is doable? It may not be how you visioned it, but we can change their vision through transformational leadership to help them succeed. And that's what's important, that maybe sometimes our way is not the best way. We have to
Yes.
listen to them and put our ego aside and then help that person succeed in a manner that they can succeed and not what looks best for us, so to speak. You know what I'm saying? Um,
Yes.
what
Yes.
is that real picture? What does that really look like? And also success for them. It's like that young lady was saying earlier about, she's working at this place making $8, $9, $10 an hour. for her, that young lady, if she could make 12, 15, she is happy, she's successful, and we need to praise that, not say, well, now you
Mhm.
need to make 20. You get what I'm saying? I mean,
Yes.
sometimes
Yes.
we have to understand that everybody has a different worldview, and it may be different
Right.
than ours, but that don't make it wrong. It just makes it different.
Right. Excellent point. No, I mean, no, I'm loving it. I'm loving it. Thank you very much. And I think, again, it's all of, if you know that individual's backstory, the situation she's coming from, I mean, Amy Thomas, hey, the situation she's in now is a million times better, and she'll keep going up. But right now, incredible progress. So yeah, lots of good stuff here, guys. Here are just a few more concrete suggestions when you're working with a customer, and they've got a great story and you would love to be able to share it, whether it is in a newsletter or on your website or on your Facebook page, or whatever different venues you might have with your organization, or sharing it with us. But some things to keep in mind is to ask permission. If you're going to use their story, if you're going to share their story, you need to have permission. And a lot of times, like waivers, you can find something pretty easily, or your organization might have one. Like I'm okay with you sharing this information. Another thing I would suggest is getting a photo of the individual up front. And this is coming from experience. The board does a year-end review, and we have a lot of success stories. And it's like at the end of the year, we're scrambling because we've got this fantastic story, but I don't have a picture of Bobby to put with it. And pictures are so important. If I'm reading a success story about somebody and there's no pictures of that person, it has to be like 10 times as good to really hold my interest. If there's a picture of the individual with it, man, I just zoom right in, because we as human beings are drawn to faces. We're drawn to faces from the time we're little babies. So getting a photo, and if you can do that up front, like if you have an intake process, hey, I need to get your photo. You've got it. You've got it should you need it for, oh, I want to share a success story. And then lastly, asking that individual for their social media information. A lot of times, and I'll just use for an example, like the adult eds here in our region, they do fantastic when they post pictures of people graduating. I love it. Every time I see one of those posts, I like it. And if you can get that person's, like, what their Facebook name is or whatever, so you can let them know you're doing that. A lot of times they share those because they're happy, they're proud of themselves. They may not want to boast, like, hey, look what I did. But if Kentucky Adult Ed shares a photo of them and they're proud of it, then they're going to share that photo. So these are just a few things to think about from the beginning, that will make cultivating success stories easier for you. So permission, photo, social media info. All right. Before I go into that, any thoughts, questions, comments before we go into more of the housekeeping at the very end? Is this something that, like, this kind of topic thing, is it something that you enjoy?
Yeah, I just will say that also on the photos, that is very important. I love doing that because photos are evidence. Of course, you need that agreement, but you know, you
Mhm.
say we're going to celebrate you. But what works is that that helps with a hidden market. Somebody can see that photo and say, well, man, if that guy can do it, if Rhett can do it, I can
Yes.
do it. You know, that guy's a
Yes.
dummy. If he can do it, I can do it. You know what I'm saying? So that can help in that manner. And it can help, you know, even with referrals, but it also, you know, you're celebrating someone who may not have had a lot of success and so may not
Yes.
have had a lot of celebration. So that's what, hey, we want to celebrate you because this is special and this you're special, and that makes them a part of the team as well because now there's evidence that ties. So I just think that's a good,
Yes.
very good idea, and I think it was very important that that's a method to celebrate people, but also helps us.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And I'll tell you we have been doing work ready boot camps in area detention centers. And so as the social media person for the board, I get all those pictures coming in. And just seeing those individuals' faces and the pride and the happiness, and like they're doing class activities and you can see just they're so engaged. Yeah, I told my boss there are days when I cry just because I'm so moved looking at these photos. So yeah, photos are extremely impactful, extremely impactful. Okay, any other thoughts on the topic in general? Has this been beneficial information? Hopefully. Good deal. Good deal. Um, I thoroughly have enjoyed the discussion. I hope it's given you some ideas and some helpful tips as well. So with that, we will move on to Ready, Set, Hire. I wanted to highlight that. We highlighted it last month. We have since completed the face-to-face regional job fair. We had close to 400 job seekers in attendance. It was huge. It was huge. Just wonderful, wonderful. We were thrilled with the turnout. Coming up April 22nd, we have Ready, Set, Hire, which is an event we have 8 high schools in the region. Seniors will be participating, and with employers, I believe we're at 12. But we've got a huge website at employword.com if you want to check it out and see what we're doing with high school students in the region. We're creating career profiles for them. I mean, it's very cool stuff. Very cool stuff. I'm excited. I'm excited about what we're doing and excited about the event as well. So now I want to give you guys opportunity to talk about what special events or opportunities that you might have with your organization or group.
I'll share, Leslie. We're having an expungement here at the Bowling Green One Stop on Tuesday, April the 22nd from 4 to 6 p.m. I've sent that flyer out and we'll be sending it out again. So if you know anyone, send it
Absolutely.
our way. And then we'll be having a baby shower coming up and a community resource day. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you, Priscilla. Somebody else. I don't know if Brian, were you on here? I can only see one person at a time.
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Good morning, all you lovely people. I'm glad your electricity worked where you can do your faces and
Yes.
take your showers and all that good stuff, right? Um, I say that jokingly. I'm sure there's plenty of people that can't do that right now.
Yeah, yeah.
So it is serious. But um, I was just going to say a real quick thing. If anybody gets the open jobs report from Bill Sandell, I did send out an updated version of that. So we've gotten that report from Bill for a while. Some of us haven't. If you don't know what I'm talking about, he basically pulls a report out of a system that scrapes the internet for job postings, and we have found it to not be very accurate at the time when you're looking at it. And it is I mean, jobs are up one day and they're down another day. But I was able to figure out some coding that I don't know how to do, but my buddy Chad, I call him Chad GPT, helped me out. So Chad was on it, and I went back and forth with Chad and figured out how to have it click on the links that are hidden behind the link and see if that job is open. And a lot of them, over 200 of them, weren't. And then I ran the report again a couple days later, and hundreds more were no longer active. And so I'm just offering that as maybe a service. I'm gonna get with Bill and see how we could kind of refine from his list that he originally gets. But it's meant to be something that would kind of help all of us, right? Working with job seekers, that because it's sorted, it's got different tabs on it. And so it's only as active as the links are, at the time you're looking at them, but it could give some leads on some places that are hiring or some opportunities that are out there. Not every job gets posted online, and not every job you have to apply online, but there's probably about 1,700 accurate ones at a time, 17 to probably, 1,800 or so that are out there. And so we're just trying to make sense out of those. How many are really, good and truly active at the time we're passing them on to everybody. So that's going to be a work in progress. So I hope that, keep making that available for everybody.
And I think what you said is extremely important as far as the number of jobs. What did you start with, Brian? Like how many were originally posted?
Oh, the ones that Bill gives us, he's been running it different ways, but the one recently, it has shown the jobs open in the last 30 days. A lot of them are already closed. And it'll say that on the report. So it had over 2,800 jobs on it. It was like
So
2,850.
2,800 down to 1,700 as far as
Yeah, and
real.
it's really down to 1,500 some odd after I checked it a couple days later. Yeah.
Wow. That's significant.
Yeah.
Absolutely. All right, somebody else. I see in the comments, Shannon mentioned, I saw Rhett raise his hand a couple of times, and I'd really like to hear his story. Is that one you've shared?
No, ma'am. I was talking about when we were talking about the reading. I thought that the thing is that when I was young, when I was in elementary school, it was during the centennial period, and I don't know if anybody is my age, but they did a real big thing in the schools where I'm from as far as it's the centennial. Uh, they had the new quarter came out and had the Minuteman on it and everything, and so they had a section in our library that was about the founding, little, biographies, just small, but it was like,
Yeah,
and it
yeah.
had like all these, and I read every single one of them, and it made me very interested in history, and it led to different books like Where the Red Fern Grows, uh, The Red Badge of Courage, and all these different things. And so I just remember at a young age, the readings, I found something that I was interested in. So what we
Yes.
did when I was in the Army, I got put on recruiting duty, and so I was wanted to do something, to help kids read because I love to read. I still read, love it. And so we converted this program I did it called I hate to say but but it was we called it WAR, and it was War on Reading, reading and writing, right? And the acronym was WAR, and the kids loved it. It was for elementary school. We did it at one school. And to see how it worked. But what we did, started everybody out at zero, and then everybody got promoted based off the books they read, how many, and all this kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And so they got ranked all the way up to general. And what we did, we actually gave them promotion certificates and gave them the little, the insignias, right?
Mm-hmm.
And two times at Christmas and at the end of the year, of course, the counselor got to go. We actually took them to two people, a boy and a girl, and we took them out to eat somewhere they wanted to go, really nice. And it really touched me when we took this young lady and this guy. We went, and the main focal point, the reason they did it was because they had never gone out to eat at a restaurant. Yeah, they were like 8, 9 years old. And I'll never forget, we went to this place called the Peking Restaurant. It was just, Chinese food, kind of like here, at the Hibachi Grill and stuff like that.
Yeah,
But they
yeah.
had never been anywhere. I'll never forget, we sat down to order, and they come over to take our order, and they were just amazed. And so they, they bring you they bring you your drink. Just never been out to eat before, and they were just so amazed. So I just think that sometimes when you do stuff, it has a bigger impact, and it really did. For those kids, I just never forget that we were able to do that, but just the stories from those kids, and we got to come out and they would tell us the books, and just we had a really good time with it, and they still do it 20 years later down there. I think
Mhm.
they changed the name because, times war,
Yeah.
but anyway, we just come up with the idea, right? It was in the 90s. But I'll never forget that when that young lady was like, they bring you your food. I mean, it was just amazing. And it taught me something where you take something for granted. You just take, everybody gets to go out to eat, right? No, they don't.
Yes. Yeah.
So anyway, I just wanted to share that, and about how, to me, that was like a worldview eye-opening moment for me. I never forgot.
Yes, yes. Well, thank you. Thank you. That's a good one to end on. That's a good one to end on. Well, we are a few minutes past
Leslie,
10:30.
Leslie,
Yes, yes,
could I say one thing?
yes.
At the program that I work with, Putting Young Kentuckians to Work, we have an opportunity for anybody between the ages of 16 and 24 that enrolls in our program. And we've talked about this a little bit before, but we are paying an incentive, a retention bonus. To anyone that's enrolled in the program and gets a job. So it is $250 for a part-time job, $500 for a full-time job. So if you work with anybody between the ages of 16 and 24, that is a possibility for them. The parameters for acceptance into this program they're just wide open. So I am going to, I think I put it in the chat. This is my email address, and probably the easiest way. We are updating the link right now, so I don't want to put that in the chat. But if you do work with anybody, a job seeker between the ages of 16 and 24, and they are interested in earning a retention bonus. What they have to do is get the job while they're enrolled in the program, and then work for the same employer for 90 calendar days. So we would determine the amount of the bonus. It's $250 for 20 hours, an average of 20 hours a week, 500 for an average of 36 hours a week. So
And
keep
so
that in
Shannon,
mind.
if I'm correct, that it's like an investment of what, maybe 5 to 10 minutes filling out papers to sign
Yes.
up in the program.
Yes, and enroll the updated link is going to include that the agreement for that retention bonus with the enrollment. So it will all be in one form. It might take 5 minutes to fill it out
Oh
online.
yeah. So
Yeah.
free, as long as they keep their job, they get money just for
Yes,
keeping their
that's
job.
right. That's right. Exactly. So we're trying to encourage youth to get into the workforce and give that job a fair shake, instead of looking across the street. And we're trying to avoid the job hopping. Um,
Yes.
so
Yes.
yeah.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
yeah, if you're
Absolutely.
interested, if you work with that age group, just send me an email and I can send you the link, and you're free to distribute that.
Wonderful.
Leslie,
Wonderful.
Leslie, if you don't mind me hopping in,
Yes, yes.
I'm the representative from Continuing Professional Development in Western Kentucky. So, hey, everyone. We've got a lot of programs through the Kentucky Career Center that folks are may be eligible for funding. I dropped the link in there. There's a lot of we have a new partner that offers a lot of healthcare related upskilling and courses like medical billing, medical assistant, really popular courses right now that folks that are unemployed currently but are looking to get into the workforce may be eligible for funding for through programs through the Kentucky Career Center. So if you know anyone that's interested in that, a lot of careers can get people into the workforce with local hospitals or medical companies, and we have a bunch of other ones as well. So if anyone wants to check out that site and knows anyone that's looking for kind of a change of a job or looking for funding for career upskilling or attaining skills at all, definitely take a look at our site.
Very good. Very good. I'm happy to see WKU doing that. Very good. Very good.
Thanks.
All right. Question that we'll end with, as far as next month, um, I would love to have someone to interview, or if I don't get, if I don't get volunteers, if you would like, something similar to what we did today, I've got about 100 years worth of concepts that I love to share in this kind of format, with colleagues, and it's very, very interactive. So if there is someone who's interested in being the person for next month, you can send me an email, you can chime in now, or if there's a topic that you would like to explore, I'm more than open for that. I think this is a fantastic group of people, and we all benefit from being around each other, even if it's, virtually. All right. Well, I will, I haven't seen any volunteers pop in. I will get with Frank and get an email just again to get a response that way, to see if someone may be interested in that, or, send out possible topics. All right, guys, thank you so much. Hopefully you got some good info today. I definitely love the stories, and I love seeing everyone's faces once a month. So thank you for joining us, and we will see you again in May. Bye, guys.